This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
There's a lot of self-proclaimed geniuses out there that know the national yield, but they're all wrong.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Hello, everybody. It's 11:15, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating this session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, which we'll be sure to get to it during the show. A quick market update here. Get this December corn down 8 1/4 at 433 1/4. January soybeans are down 17 1/4 at 1129 1/2, and December Chicago wheat's down 7 1/2 at 528 1/4. Jumping right in, a couple of highlights on the report. Corn yield came back 186, so it's slightly lower than September and a couple of bushel higher than the average trade estimate. On the soybean side, 53. That's a little bit lower than September and right in the range of the average trade estimate on the lower side there. Looking at carryout numbers, 2.154 on the corn side, excuse me, 290 on the bean side and 901 on the wheat side. Export sales data dump that we got showed real solid corn announcements, roughly in the range of 5 million through a majority of that's Mexico. China showed up a little bit in the soybean side, 332,000 announced, and overall the bean sales were about 1.4 million. So with that, Justin, I guess at the surface, it's probably looking at these corn sales, probably the thing that's holding corn together here a little bit. And then on the bean side, looks like if you were looking for China to show up in a big way, it kind of didn't happen. So what are your initial thoughts as we go through this?
Yeah, still trying to digest a lot. Obviously, I think you're right. I think the 186 number, I mean, I'm sure people say wait till January, but it's a massive supply and a huge demand right now in corn. You know, so they increased exports another 100 million bushels. So we've got 3 billion, 50 million written down. It's a gigantic number for exports. We're on, obviously, you know, just the announcements looks like it's a little north of 5 million tons that were announced while we were closed in daily announcements. So yeah, I mean, I think that's why we're not, you know, 30 lower. I think that there's big demand this whole time. So that's definitely encouraging for such a big crop. You know, the thing that's still going to be the big question mark is that, you know, there's a giant feed and residual number. So if Mexico's being so aggressive on bringing in corn, you know, because they have a lot of animal numbers that aren't flowing to the U.S., so they're feeding them there. You could argue that you need to lower the feed demand here, right? If we're not feeding them here, we're feeding them in Mexico. But either way, it's a fantastic export pace there for corn. So yeah, beans, I mean, 290 yield. So it's kind of the opposite in beans, 290 carry out, little lower yield. They lowered demand, export demand, 50 million bushels. And yeah, the daily announcement's pretty disappointing. I mean, I think it added up to just shy of 1 million tons announced to unknown and China combined. So a lot of that unknown could be, I think Mexico is, you know, just almost as good of a buyer. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite, right? Tight supply relatively and demand's very questionable on the export front, at least.
Dustin, what's your thoughts as you've taken a peek at this?
Yeah, I mean, we got really good demand, but you got to remember these are all sales that have added up over a 2-month period. So some of this is normal business, right? It's 200 million bushels reported through that time frame, and we are accounting for that in a balance sheet. So like this is the balance sheet for corn. If Jackie can pull that up, you know, we're talking 3.0. Jack, do you see my thing there? 3.075 billion bushels is the right-hand column for exports. And I think the biggest thing is that total available supply number, the market, you know, it's got a lot of supply to pick from. So in the short run, if it's not getting enough flow, I understand why strong demand would keep things elevated, because you just have to you have to create the right price for that transaction to happen from grower to ultimate end user. Right. That's why basis has been strong in the East. You just have to get these bushels to the usage centers and for it to change hands. That's going to happen automatically through the course of the season, though. One way or the other, people are not going to carry the corn into next season. So I still look at this as a pretty bearish report. If this is the actual production number, it's very hard for demand to outpace this. And I think we were talking off screen beforehand. This feed number looks too high to us. So 2.154, that's kind of if this really is the production number, it's kind of like the best case scenario, in my opinion, for the bulls. So no matter what, record demand is going to take us only down to a 2.1 billion, which we haven't seen in a long time. So I think if anything, it's bearish spreads. Once we get past some of these key dates, and these bushels need to be moved either way in JFM, like March D spread, for example, like if this is the stocks count goes all the way through the January reports and the stocks count confirms that we have this many bushels, then then these would be bearish numbers in my opinion. And I know demand is just going to cause, it's going to be a wrecking ball to that because you got to get the bushels to change hands at a certain price. But so yeah, that's my 2 cents on it, is that this balance sheet is still overloaded with too much supply.
So Justin, if I'm hearing you right, the question that has been posed to me is if that feed and residual number is pointing to them thinking that we're going to get the border open, you're going to get us feeding out the cattle and finishing them off in an expansion program, then what do you got to go slash exports to Mexico? I mean, is it a give and take that just is always going to be an inherent problem for corn right now on that piece? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, part of it's, it's such a big crop size that they just jacked up residual is part of it, right? So the problem with it is you don't know how much they're using for residual and how much they're using for feed.
All right.
But to Dustin's point, no matter how you look at it, it's a gigantic number.
Yeah.
Right. And that, they kept it big because they kept the yield big. I think if they would have lowered the yield 4 bushels, they would have lowered feed and residual. Yeah, right. So it's just kind of a good offset. It's a fudge number, right, that they can use to make sure that they're right in the end.
Yeah. I mean, hard to be a cheerleader for January though, right? I mean, if you look at 186, like what's going to change between now and January?
Yeah. The math ain't mathin' on sub
math
one.
Ain't mathin'.
On sub 180. So right. I think that's going to be a tough hill to die on, saying wait for the January number. So not that it can't come up or down or, whatever, but I think the key here is going to be if this demand pace can keep up, if we keep seeing record demand on breaks, to Dustin's earlier point, it's a little bit of a history lesson, right? I mean, part of the reason that we were so strong, it kind of tells us why we were so strong, right? Every single break was bought and we were doing a ton of business. So it's great. Let's, see what happens from here on out.
And let's not lose sight that this is 200 million more bushels of production than the average guest is calling for. And it's also, we had 200 million more bushels of carry and supply, which is a lower usage suggestion. So I just think that, again, it's not what happened last year, I think is such a good tell of what could happen again, is that we had this massive rally into Fed because there wasn't enough flow. People were just not selling enough to that point. But ultimately, I know we had the confirmation that Brazil had good weather, but spreads collapsed, price collapsed, everything happened by July. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer about this. I look at this balance sheet, I'm like, how are you going to get a non-burdensome carryout? And just maybe it just takes time to prove that. But
yeah, and I mean also too, to hit, you look at the amount of meal that we've been getting rid of, and we talked about this, considering the record crush, we got rid of it because it stayed at super cheap prices for a long time, because of oil share and all those things, right? And then they used it. But to go say okay, we're going to use all this and we're going to have a massive flat price rally from here, those two things aren't going to go hand in hand. And now you can't really lean on the yield part to bail you out.
Right.
Ben, final thoughts here to take us home.
Yeah, I look at tons of data. Market's still interpreting it. If you would have told me 186 yield and we were only down 7 cents, and really that down 7 just puts us at the high end of our recent range, I'd be kind of shocked. Interesting to see what happens Monday, Tuesday. As we go through this, we have options expiration next week. Soybeans, I don't think anyone should be super shocked with a pullback. But again, if we start shipping beans to China, you have to ask yourself how much that we can actually handle. I know some of it's already baked into the cake, but considering the bulls got nothing really on this report, marginal reduction in soybean carryout, I'd say we're hanging in there pretty good right now, but there's a lot of day left. It's how do you close it today? I think it's pretty important. Where do you close it Monday, Tuesday?
No, it's good stuff. We Jonathan, he asked about our favorite commodity here. I mean, at 901 carry out for wheat, Justin, there's just nothing there.
Nothing there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, wheat obviously was getting some excitement with the whole China, China's buying some wheat, sniffing around for wheat, all those kinds of things. I think it probably tagged along with corn and beans, forced some short covering. But beyond, I mean, that's kind of been wheat story. Outside of, you got to wait for the short cover rally, which happens once every year, and then you got to sell it. And that's just been the trend. So that's kind of my opinion on it. I mean, just like meal, these other ones, you force people to have too big of a short position to cover. That's your rally. To get behind a fundamental wheat story, I think is tough, unless you start seeing some real business get done. So that's my take on it.
Very good. Tommy, appreciate the comments there. Happy Friday to you too. I'm sure you're busy as
Thanks,
well.
Tom.
Any final thoughts here as we go in the weekend, guys? Are we pretty well covered here? I think we're still taking a look, obviously digging deep, but anything else to add?
Nope.
I don't know why corn's not down more. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I guess
Send your hate mail to him, not me.
We had our one good day above the 200-day moving average. We floated back below it. We just tried to bounce. I think if we get back above there, we're gonna incent some more shorts to maybe exit. But with the report we have, I think rallies will be limited for now.
Yeah, we just tacked on 50 cents, so it's gonna get some disappointed bulls. You're probably gonna have to digest this for a while.
Yep.
Very good. Appreciate the thoughts and comments there, guys. And also appreciate everybody that tunes in. Thanks for the comments here. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so. And it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. We'll get one more last readout here before we wrap. D's corn's down 8 3/4 right now, 432 3/4. GM beans are down 17.5 at 11.29 3/4 is the last. And December Chicago wheat's down 9 1/4 at 526.5. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we look forward to talking to you again on Monday.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.